Okay, hi, it's Darren Bain here, and this video is courtesy of the London Hairdressing Apprenticeship Academy. And today I'd like to share with you a bit of a take on a sort of more advanced haircut. We're still working with, what we'd call fundamental hairdressing, classic shapes, classic form. We're just pushing it a little bit more to create something that's a little bit more individual, a little bit more creative, and something that's just going to be a little bit more individual to that particular person. So in order to do that, you need to approach the hair a little bit differently. You need to come up with a pre-plan, so something that's a little bit planned out before. You can't just go straight in and just hope for the best and, think that something different's going to come out of it, because generally what would happen is it probably wouldn't. It'd probably come out quite similar to stuff that you've done before. So I think it's important, if you are going to do something different, you are going to do something a bit more creative, try and have a little bit of a plan before you start, okay? Because when you look at classic haircuts, so your bobs and your layers, you have a start point and you have an end point, and this is already established before you do the haircut. And the reason why it's established before you do the haircut is because they're what we call generic haircuts. They're haircuts that have stood the test of time. They're haircuts that are borrowed from companies to companies, persons to persons. So you pick it up from someone and you follow it. Then you might share it with someone, they follow it, and this has happened, for the last 100 years. Okay, so in order to do something creative as a word needs to have a personal touch, okay? It comes from the creator, which has to be you, the hairdresser. So in order for that to happen, if you then copy someone else's creative haircut, then you've done a creative haircut, but it's someone else's you borrowed, okay? Now to do something that's completely unique and completely different, takes a bit of innovation, it takes a little bit of thought process, and it just takes approaching hair in a little bit of a different way to what you would normally. So that said, I'm going to just do a bit of a creative haircut, a bit of a take on stuff that I've done in the past, and stuff that I've also seen being done in the past. Okay, so before I will start doing a creative haircut, I do like to draw it out and pop it down. So as you can see here, this is my head sheet, and I draw down notes and I draw out things the key areas that I think that I'm going to work on. So I understand it. Okay, it's not really, it doesn't really have to be done in a way that you need to explain it to someone else, okay? That's education, that's something you learn over the years, but for you, it's just a case of just writing stuff down. As long as it makes sense to you, that's all that matters, okay? You're not presenting it to the whole academy, okay? So, jot a few notes down. If you don't have head sheets like that, you can just literally write it on a plain bit of paper, okay? And the reason why it's good to do that is because before you start the haircut, you've got a little bit of a journey, a bit of a pattern to follow, and you know what, there's going to be certain areas where, you're going to change your mind. So what I like to do, I use the 70-30 principle that I've used over the years. It's served me very well. So I have 70% mapped out the journey. So 70% I know what I'm going to do, okay? But I leave 30% open for interpretation. So that 30% could be, disconnected bit of hair on the top, which I have here today, or it might be, I'll leave a panel out in the back or the hairline. The side I might leave a long, piece of hair at the front. It's what we call like optional lengths. So giving yourself an option rather than just cutting it and then not having those options after, okay? So really the difference between a creative haircut and a classic haircut is giving yourself options and areas of hair that you're not really sure what you're going to do with them just yet. And that should be around about 30%, okay? If it's too much, if you're going in like 50-50, in my experience, you don't quite get enough structured kind of shape and the whole thing becomes a little bit too, bit too sort of loose, okay? So 70-30 works really well for me. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to crack on with the haircut. So there's no advanced section patterns or anything like that with this particular haircut. I've taken a triangle section from recession to recession, and it just goes around the back of the crown, okay? I'm going to start on the side. I'm going to work the diagonal section, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to elevate the hair out, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut everything short to long, okay? So what I'm going to do is keep the length on the perimeter, okay? So we're keeping the length on the perimeter here, and I'm going to cut the internal shape as short as possible. Alright? Let's maybe change direction, maybe here. Okay, so the hair comes out and up, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut shorter to longer, okay? So shorter meaning shorter internally, and longer meaning externally, okay? So you drop that down, Okay, so as you can see, it's shorter through the internal shape and it gets longer as it comes down. All right, so I'm going to continue working diagonal sections like so. And I'm elevating the hair, so I'm pushing the hair away from me, like so, lifting it up. And I'm working on the base, okay, so there's no over direction on the base, it's just over directed internally in the section, but the base of the section is perpendicular, okay? And then what I'm doing, I'm just going to work back towards the centre of the crown. So again, you can see I'm pushing the hair back onto the base, like so. So what you'll see is happening already straight away is that there's quite a lot of hair coming out internally, but not so much externally. So there's a lot of hair coming out here and not so much coming out here, okay? And that is basically the over direction, the short to long, okay? So just keeping your section diagonal, very slightly diagonal, and keep pushing the hair away from you. There's a couple of reasons why I'm pushing the hair away. One is I want to keep the hair on the base, and I believe when you push the hair away from you, cutting hair on the base tends to work better. But I also find you need to cut short to long. So if I stand here, I'm cutting short to long. If I stand on the other side, so if I stand at the back, I might comb the hair away from the base, but also I can't cut short to long standing from the back, okay? So where you stand and where you approach the hair is very important. Okay, so as I come round, I've got a little bit more hair now because I'm just starting to go into the back of the hairline, okay? So I'm still going to cut it short to long. Now, as you might notice, I'm using a slightly different technique with my fingers now, so I'm working on the inside of my fingers as opposed to the outside, okay, but I'm still creating the same shape. So here's the angle on the inside, on the outside it's there, but it's still the same, okay? That's called dynamic movement, okay? So you can be dynamic with your body, and you can create different shapes with your body, okay? It's just about having that mobility. As I come down, you can still see quite clearly I'm working short to long, okay? And keep working the panels, try and comb the hair away, keep it super disciplined with your work, making sure you're keeping your sections nice and neat, okay? You're not getting too messy with the hair, because what happens is if you start getting messy, you might lose your thought of direction, and that's when you're being creative and you're doing something a little bit different, you tend to get a little bit lost if you're not too careful. So make sure that you have that discipline as part of your overall process for the haircut. Okay, so every section's the same, starting up high elevation and then working down towards the bottom and coming round the back of the head. So up, high elevation, and then working down to the bottom. Okay, so there's not anything different about what I'm doing in the sense of I'm doing layers. I'm working with a mixture, so I'm going from working with like round layers to over directed layers. So you're kind of going from over direction, and as you come around the back, you start working more round. So when you're working even with a creative haircut, all you're really doing is a concessions of different classic haircuts that are intertwined with each other. They're all pretty much the same. You're using the same techniques that you've learned in your training, but it's how you mix them together. Okay, so a creative haircut is just a mixture of round layers, square layers, concave layers, you know, short to long, over direction, disconnection, you know, asymmetric. You know, they're all one of a classic haircut somewhere along the line that you've learned. Okay, and it's all about just putting all that into practice. That's why, you know, it's so important to have your fundamentals, your classic haircuts down. You know, if you get them down and understand them, then your creativity will come slowly and you'll have the understanding of what it is that you're creating because of your knowledge of the fundamentals in hairdressing. So I come to the centre of the crown. Okay, and I'm just connecting in that last section there. Okay, so that's all connected through. And then I'm going to do the same on the opposite side, okay? So we started out at the front, we took a diagonal section. Okay, and then we bring the hair out. Okay, we take it up. We're going to cut it on the base. We're going to cut it short to long, okay? Bring it back to the front, so out, up, short to long, okay? Next section. Grab the hair back so we get it right on the base, out, up, shorter to longer. Next section. So you're repeating yourself. Now repeating yourself is basically consistency. So if you want to be consistent in hair and what you do, you have to be able to be quite repetitive. Okay, making sure that you can stick to the guide, stick to the plan. Okay, not deviate, and that way you'll get the consistency. If you go into a haircut with mood, i.e., you know, I'm in this kind of mood today, therefore I'm going to do this to create a haircut. In my experience, sometimes your mood will take you to, you know, a good place and you'll create this amazing haircut. And then next time, if your mood's different, you're going to be doing something that's maybe not quite as good as what you did before. So that's where the consistency breaks down. Don't let mood and how you feel dictate your haircut, okay? Because you're not always going to be in that, yeah, I'm really motivated, you know, I'm really kind of pumped and I'm going to really do an amazing haircut today. You know, that is a really nice place to be for all of us. But in reality, you're not going to feel like that every time someone sits in your chair, okay? It's just not, it's not realistic. So that's where the consistency needs to come in, okay? So make sure that you have that consistency. So even on the bad days, even on the days when, you know, you're not feeling so good, you know, you can still bang out a really cool haircut, okay? Like, I'm not even feeling that great today, but I'm going to do your hair amazingly anyway, okay? That's when, you know, the real great hairdressers really come into their own, okay? So as I said, I've been dragging that back to this point, and now as I come into the back, I'm going to now go on the inside of my fingers, like I did on the other side, but I'm not going to work with my fingers pointing up, I'm going to work my fingers pointing down. So it's an even different technique, okay? But again, I'm still working with the roundness as I did on the other side. Okay. Now, so as you come through, what you've got to remember, to this point, on the side, all you're doing is cutting it short to long. And it's only when you come into the back where the hairline drops down, so you go short to long, and then you have to then just connect that bottom piece in. That's why I start to come round. If you do that in the side, what do you think's going to happen? You're going to get holes in your line, okay? So at the moment, essentially, I've still got a bob line. There's a bob line in this haircut, okay? And I want to protect that. So when I'm layering the hair, if I layer it too much, I'm going to lose that line, okay? So I'm just coming into a few more sections in the back. So again, start off with the high elevation. And as I come down, I'm working with a lower elevation towards the bottom. Okay. And the last section here, just simply connecting those last few pieces in, like so. So just bringing it up, connecting those last few pieces in, like so. Cross check, we're good. Okay. So we've got both sides there completed. Bring the hair, bring it back round to the front. Check the balance. Okay, it's feeling good so far. I'm just checking my angles from the side. So I like to really, so I walk over to the other side of the room on this side and I walk over to this side, okay? So when you're in the salon, sometimes you need to walk away from your client. I know it sounds a bit odd, but you need to see it from a distance and look at it, okay? Because when you're quite close up a lot, you can't quite see what it is that you're doing, okay? Then I'm gonna just turn the head and I'm gonna cross check now, so I'm gonna bring the hair out, make sure I'm consistent. As I say, if you get a few little pieces, there's a little piece there, you can just snip it away. If it's a lot of hair, which it shouldn't be, but if it was, you know what you got to do. You got to go back through, find it, and then take it off. Okay. I tend to just call this dusting. I'm going through the hair, and at the point that I like to feel that I'm at, it should just be dusting. Okay. I'm not expecting to see large bits of hair or anything that's going to be not quite right. Okay. It's just little pieces and I'll snip them off. That's how you judge yourself, you know. A good hairdresser should actually judge himself or herself on the cross check. Cross check will tell you where you're at as a hairdresser. Simple as that. Simple as that. If you want to know the truth, you want to know the truth about your hairdressing, it's all in the cross check. Okay? Okay, so both sides are complete and I'm happy with those. Okay? So have a little feel. Okay, good. Check. Okay, good. So now what I'm going to do, drop the hair down, just feel the hair. So really make sure before you move on that everything is good. So now we've got this top area. Just want to release it now. Okay, and what I want to do is leave this hair long and disconnected, okay? So as you'll be able to see quite clearly, this hair is going to sit on the side, if it goes this way, on top of this area here, which is much shorter. Okay, so you can clearly see there's going to be a big, large disconnection here. Can you see that? Okay, it's very, very obvious. Now, if you're quite young in hairdressing, you're kind of coming from doing classic haircuts where it's all about balance, all about getting the connection. When you first go into doing creative haircuts that don't have to be connected, it feels weird, okay? So if I show you that again, that's going to freak you out because you spent 3 years of your life being told to make sure that you're blending one bit to another bit, okay? So that just feels wrong, okay? But when you go full circle and you've learned all your classic haircuts and you understand hairdressing, then you want to kind of let the shackles off, if you like, and be a bit freer, then you can start getting into the fun stuff and going things like it's totally disconnected. But I just want to warn you now, it does feel weird at first, and it did for me. That's why I'm bringing it up. It's because I always wanted to make sure my haircuts were like, no, it's got to be perfect. And that's when you realise that if you want to break free and do something different, you've got to kind of break free from it, okay? But there's another very famous saying in hairdressing is you've got to know the rules before you break the rules, okay? So there has to be that balance as well, okay? If I then take the hair the other way, it's just going to be exactly the same scenario. On this side, you're going to have the shorter hair underneath and then the longer hair through the top. And this is probably the first kind of creative haircut that you can kind of try. It's not really that different. It's a bit of a take on a bob, and all it really is it's short to long underneath, and then you've got the long disconnection on the top. Okay, I want to take it a little bit further. I want to put like a little fringe underneath as well. So what I'm going to do is section across the front, and then I want to put a fringe in. Okay, so I'm going to lift this hair up, take it back, and then I'm going to cut a fringe into the front. Okay, so I'm going to start on the side. I'm going to start where we left off. So this section here, which is part of the side, we use that as a guide. So we're going to bring the hair out. We're going to cut from the shortest point. We're going to start cutting a fringe into the hair. Now I'm doing what I call like a layered fringe. So the hair, rather than cutting a fringe through the fingers or through the comb, like what we call like conventional fringe, I'm actually doing a layered fringe. So I'm layering it as I'm cutting it. So what that's going to give me is a much softer, more creative fringe. Okay, so it comes down and it's still a fringe, but it's layered. Okay, next section. So cutting fit on the base, so no over direction. Okay, you can see the fringe gradually coming in, okay? And you just work this into the middle, and then you go to the other side. Start again on this side, take your first section, bring it up and out, use the side as your guide. So as long as your two sides are balanced, you'll get the same guide from each side, and then your fringe will then marry as it comes into the centre. Okay, last section. Like so. Okay, so at the moment you've got this kind of like really chewy little fringe at the front. Now there's not much difference between cutting the fringe like this and when you cut a normal sort of classic fringe. You still need to go in and move the hair around a bit. So I'm just going to, I know the hair's a little bit damp still, but I'm going to just do a few little bits that I'd like to do now. And then when it's dry, almost certainly I'll be going back in and doing a bit more, because that's what you have to do on fringes anyway. But I'd say again on creative haircuts you tend to do quite a lot of hair cutting when the hair's dry as well. It's just part of the process. Okay, so you've got this kind of little choppy fringe, and then you're kind of left again with this bit here. So the idea now is I want this bit to be left long. I want long bits, and then you get flashes of the fringe coming through from the long bits. Okay, so that kind of thing. All right, and then you can keep these bits kind of long, and it's got some short fringes underneath, and then the side you've got still got the bob shape here, but it's really short in here, and then in the back it's very short all through, but again it's still got the bob line here. Okay, so you can see, and in here as well you've got this kind of like lovely little curved shape through the front, so you can see that it's still got classic elements to the hair, like it's still got the classic bob feel, it's still got the layered feel, but just by making the layers quite short and creating the disconnection and then doing the little choppy fringe, you can see that actually it just gives it enough to make it different without going too much. Because if you go too left field and you're just trying to do something completely crazy, again in my experience it's generally going to look too hobbycraft. Okay, and what I mean by that is just you're kind of doing something just for the sake of being different. And you have to put it in perspective. What does that person look like when they go out on the street, when they go to the restaurants and the bars and the clubs? You know, how will that reference in that environment? You know, how will that be perceived by those particular people? Okay, and that's what's really important. Okay, so don't do something to make someone look so completely different that everyone's like, whoa, what's going on? Okay, subtlety I think is the beauty. Okay, you want to be subtle, you want to be understated, you want to be creating accents of different looks, but without them being too, you know, punchy. All right, so let's dry the hair. Okay guys, so this is kind of the finish that I've kind of worked on for the last 5 minutes. As you can see, working with lots of texture, getting really into the hair, just crafting the hairline a lot more, going into the fringe underneath and making it really kind of choppy and really broken. And obviously this top section that we left long, it's really kind of dynamic, and you can kind of move the hair around and do a lot more with it. But I'm just really finishing now with a little bit of hairspray, and I think you can agree that wherever I move the hair, it creates something different. And this is why this haircut is such a, it's a great alternative for something that's quite classic, which we started out with Bob, and working really into the internal shape in a different approach to give it something a bit different, definitely individual, but still not like that far away from the fundamentals, okay? You can still see that it has, you know, the Bob feel to it. It's still got the shape of the Bob. We still kept certain elements to it. But as you can see, when you start looking a bit closer, it's definitely a lot more going on. And I think that the disconnection is something that really probably makes that difference, okay? So if you move it one way, you know, you can still keep the softness, you can even hide the fringe, but when you move it the other way, you get something different. So every way that you move it, and even when, you know, she's out and moving around, the hair will move around as well, and it'll create a different shape as the day goes on. So I hope you like it. I hope you can get some ideas from it, and it gives you, you know, just, it gives you this kind of feeling that, you know, you can do it yourself, okay? It's not too scary. It's not really, wasn't really a technical haircut really, I don't think, okay? If you look at it again, watch the video, and break it down, it's not that scary. And I think, you know, now you've seen this, you can have a go at it yourself, okay? But I really love it. Love the profile as well. Really cool. And it looked really nice, you know, tucked behind the ears as well, okay? So, I really hope you like the shape, and thanks for listening, as always. I try and get as much content into the short videos as I can and keep it interesting as I can for you, but also trying to, you know, get the haircut exactly how we want it as well, okay, without being too technical. So I hope you like this one, okay? So it's a take on a slightly more advanced haircut, working with disconnection, working with short to long over direction, and it's a take on a classic Bob with short layers, all right? So I hope you like it. Thanks for listening. See you next time.